Welcome to the complete 2023 comprehensive Sorare guide. Whether you've never played Sorare before or whether you've been playing for years, this guide should have something in here that will help you. I'll timestamp individually each section so you can jump straight to the part that you'll find most relevant and help you. Before we get into this, I would say this took a lot of effort, so if you could like or drop a comment, it'd be hugely appreciated, but let's get into it. If you don't know what Sorare is, it's essentially fantasy sports mixed with digital collectibles into this one fantasy game where you can compete every single week playing different teams across different sports to win real prizes, including money, including tickets to events, everything really included. You can see on screen here, this is the football version. There's also basketball and there's NBA. By the time you see this, there might even be more sports, but essentially this is what it is. And it is for a variety of budgets. You can see on screen here, Joshua Kimmich from Bayern Munich sold 4 minutes ago for £7,400. Now that doesn't mean every single card is going to be valued that way. This is a rare card. These are more scarce. These are limited cards. These are slightly cheaper because they're 10 times more in supply. There's 1,000 of them. Like I said, you can buy these cards for as little as 50p and put a team together just to try it out. There's even a free-to-play version, so be sure to check that out if you don't know what it is. But let's get into the guide for people that want to sign up. So if you're looking to sign up Sorare and you haven't already, there'll be a link in the description of this video that I'd really appreciate if you could use. This will get you something for free and it will help support the channel. So that's the best way to start. What that'll mean is after you buy 5 yellow limited cards, you'll get an extra one for free and I'll get paid for signing someone up, which is fantastic. So once you've signed up, you're going to want to know how the game works. I'm going to talk about football because it's the most popular version and I think most people will be looking for that on my content. When you sign up, you'll be given cards that look very similar to the ones on screen. These are common white cards, they can't be sold, but you can use them to learn the game. Well, that was previously how common cards work to introduce players to the game. But as of today, Sorare have introduced new draft modes for new users to compete and learn the game. The draft modes are based on the top 5 leagues in Europe. We currently have the Bundesliga draft and the La Liga draft. I would suspect in the next 2 weeks we'll have the Premier League draft and the Serie A draft on top of that. If you want to register, you just simply register. You'll be able to select your team like I have here. I obviously can't reselect my draft because I've already started, but essentially it's very easy. You get a points cap and you pick players so that you use up all your points cap and then you can set them in SO5, 5-a-side teams every single week. The top 200 places each week get card prizes which you can either sell or use to strengthen your club. Included in those weekly rewards, there is also monthly rewards for the top users at the end of the month. For those, Sorare are aiming for real life prizes such as signed tickets, signed shirts, and they've even hinted at some exclusive experiences. One has already been announced and flying with AC Milan on their trip to their next European game, which is just absolutely wild. So the free-to-play version of Sorare will be these draft modes, which I think is great fun. On top of that, you can pay the paid game and you can use all these different cards. Before I get into what each of the colors mean and how to use the cards most appropriately, let's go through the basics of what each tab means on Sorare. So we got football. If you wanted to play the basketball NBA version, you can click that. Or if you wanted to play the MLB baseball game, you can click that. Then we have the market. So you have new card auctions or manager sales are going to be the key ones here. New card auctions are obviously auctions, which are auctioned off by Sorare. That's how they make their revenue. It's how they keep the game sustainable. And then manager sales are peer-to-peer sales where you can be, a bit more negotiable. You can say, right, I'll give you this amount for this card and we can trade this card and that card. Do you fancy that? That's how that works. The play section is broken up into the upcoming game week. So game weeks are centered, twice a week. You have your midweek fixtures of Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then the weekend fixtures covers Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. If you were to click into upcoming, you can see all the different types of competitions. You can filter out competitions that you can't enter, or you can look at absolutely every single one. You can click on them. You can view the prize pool. So for example, if you clicked on Challenger Europe, which is a league, you can click details. It tells you all of the competitions it's covered. It tells you, any specific requirements there might be for the league. There might be, last 15 averages. You might need players under 23 years old. Matches show you again which matches are specifically covered if you're looking to scout a game. Then you have the prize pool and you can see for first place in this gets 182 euros or 0.136 Ethereum and a star limited. The star limited top of the pool would be Martin van der Voort from Genk, and then he's selling for a nice price currently. Lowest on market would be about £365, so you'd be pretty pleased to win that. If you then move over to the live section, then you can see exactly how your players are doing this game week. So if we look into my La Liga draft, so this be for the newcomers as well, you can see that David Silva is currently doing quite well in his game. His score has been broken down here. I'll explain how the scoring system works later, but essentially that's an in-play game and the scores are being tracked every single minute. Alvaro Garcia is in the same game, so in the 79th minute, he's not putting up as good a score, but let's hope he can get something. If you were to click on the pass tab, then it shows you how you did last week, shows you your final score and if you won any rewards. I didn't actually play any games last week because I didn't have players with fixtures. It was a quiet midweek. On top of that, then you'd be able to claim any reward you have. You can see a little reward icon here, and that's how you know you're opening your rewards. I've opened plenty on my channel. If you want to go check out my shorts, you can see little shorts openings and see exactly who I got and how much they're worth. In addition to playing the free-to-play draft modes, you might want to pay the paid version of Sorare. In order to do that, you're going to need to put some money onto your account. The currency that everyone uses on Sorare is the cryptocurrency Ethereum. The reason we use that is that everyone therefore has the same currency. This is a global game played by everyone across the world. We try to have as many leagues covered as possible, and it means money can be transferred instantly between different accounts. If you're looking to add money to your Sorare account, then you can click at the top right and it will show you your ETH balance. Mine is currently 0.8713 Ethereum, equivalent to about £1,100. It will show you all your recent activity, and simply if you want to add funds, you click add funds. If you understand cryptocurrency, you can go through the regular methods of transferring from Coinbase to your own MetaMask wallet and then adding that MetaMask wallet to Sorare, but that's a little complicated. What people normally do is click card or bank transfer. You then have two options of Ramp or MoonPay. I don't really use these, but they're both pretty much the same thing. If you click onto one, I think you might need to make an account, but essentially what it will give you is a quote of how much you want to spend and how much Ethereum you'll get for that. You can proceed with the transaction. It'll be taken off your card and it'll be on your Sorare account in minutes. If it takes a little longer, 10-15 minutes, I really wouldn't panic. It can take time for the network to go through all the transactions if it's particularly busy. If there is any issues, you can go to the Sorare helpline online. So once you've spent some money, you want to know as much as possible. So here are some frequently asked questions for you. How long does my Sorare card last? Your card lasts for the entirety of that player's career, as long as they remain in a covered league. Currently, we have 50 leagues covered. It's pretty much every single league in the world, of the top tier. Outside of that, if they go to an uncovered league, unfortunately, you will lose that utility. But generally, you get the whole player's entire career of that. What do the different colors mean? So these are scarcities. So limited is 1 of 1,000, rare is 1 of 100, super rares are 1 of 10, and uniques are 1 of 1. Obviously get more expensive the more you move up because of the scarcity elements, and that means your prizes get better the further you go up. In addition to that, we also have these custom series national series cards. These were just little collectible cards given out as part of the World Cup, as part of the Global Cup on Sorare. I wouldn't worry about these if you're new to Sorare because they're more collector's items. You can't actually use them in any of the competitions. How do I get a free card and how much will it be worth? If you sign up with an affiliate link like the one in my description, if you go to the market new card auctions, once you've purchased 5 cards from this auctions, you'll get a free limited card. That's one of these yellow cards. In terms of how much it's worth, you can't get any card on the platform. It's usually capped at, I think, a tier 2, which would be probably in the vicinity of from £1 to £10. I don't really know. I haven't got one for ages, but it's better than nothing at the end of the day. I've already signed up and I haven't got a free card. Is there anything I can do? No, you can't get a free card unless you completely delete your account. Obviously, if you delete your account, you'll lose everything that you had on that account. So I wouldn't advise doing that, but you can use it to get a free card. The risk is you can only have one account at a time or you will be banned from Sorare because you can only have one account per person. Does Sorare have an app? Yes, it does. You can download it from the Android or iPhone store. It's like every other app, you can search for it. My personal preference is that I don't like it as much as the desktop version, but that could just be my fault. Give it a try, see what you think. If I finish higher up, will I get better rewards? That's how the system's supposed to work, but obviously for very marginal places like finishing 12th or finishing 13th, the cards might be slightly out of value because real-time data changes very quickly on this game. But if you finish first compared to 200th, you are guaranteed to get a better card because that's how the system is set up. What does the different version of similar cards mean? So you can see here, Upamecano and Vieira look slightly different despite both being limited cards. What's happening here is the old season cards and the new season cards. So Jonathan Vieira is a 2022-2023 card, and then Upamecano is a 2021-2022 card. The difference in that is XP. Then you might be wondering how XP works. XP works as a base score plus the amount of minutes played in that team plus the amount of score in that team, all divided up into the XP for the whole team. You don't really need to know the full calculation, but the more minutes you play, the better your team scores, the better you'll do. If you put the team into training, they'll get double XP, and there's only 3 training teams that you can put in. Kalinic here then, he has the 5% bonus for being a new season card and 0.5% bonus because he's only played a couple of games for the club. What do the different designs mean on the card? Essentially the card designs are just for aesthetics. So here you can see some of my Celtic cards have champion edition cards. This is because Celtic won the league, so I was able to purchase these on the auctions. And then you have Szymanski, who got a player of the year card just being one of the best scorers on the game, but it doesn't make any difference to the scores. So how do you become good at the game then? You first have to understand the scoring system, I guess. So Sorare slightly updated the scoring metrics in July 26, 2022. And essentially, the scoring system is a 0 to 100 score for each player on the game, each game week they play. This score is combined of a decisive action score, a DA score, and an all-round AA score. So starting with the decisive action score, this is your goals, this is your assists, this is your goal line clearances. The big actions that are actually decisive in a game go here. And these will move you through the levels. So you start just by playing. If you're a starting player, you'll get 35 points. This will move up to 60, a guaranteed 60 score if you score. If you were to get red carded, that would be a -1, you'd go down to 15 score. So generally, players start on a score of 35. If they score, they'll go up to 60. If they score an assist, they'll go up to 70. But on top of that, you add in the all-round score. And simply, the all-round score covers absolutely everything your player does on a pitch. Whether it's a pass, whether it's a tackle, whether it's an interception, they will get a score. I'm not going to go through it because for a beginner, it's really not that important. All you need to understand is that, good things like completing a pass will go well for you, and bad things like passing it out of play will not go well for you. For example, this is the goalkeeper one on screen, and you can see everything is completely comprehensive. Everything is being tracked. So now you understand how the scoring works, you might want to go out and get a few players. If you're like anything like myself, I always want to just get involved with a small amount of money and just try it out. It's no fun playing with free cards for me. I like to get involved, and if I lose a little bit of money, I lose a little bit of money. If you're thinking like that, you can go to the market, you can go to new card auctions. I would suggest for a newcomer, you probably should go to the auction. Why you go to the auction is because if you're willing to bid that, you can't really go too far wrong because someone was willing to bid just one bid below you. If you go to the manager sales, anyone can sell the cards at whatever price they list them, and you could overpay. But if you are wondering, how can I fairly value my cards and how do I know I'm getting a good deal without overpaying? This is where Sorare Data, a separate website, comes in so handy for any players. There's a free to use version. I personally use the paid version, but for new beginners, you want to be using the free to play version. This is what it looks like on screen, and you can search up pretty much any player on the platform. So for example, the first one that came to mind is Karim Benzema of Real Madrid. On here, you can see his limited card. This is the yellow version here, and then pounds. So if you're valuing in pounds, for example, you're English or British, there's also dollars if you're American or euros if you're European. You can look and you can filter by all of these different variations and see, okay, so the last sale went for about 162, the last auction went for about 172, so anywhere in that region is reasonable. And there's also a yellow dotted line you can see on screen, which will tell you the current floor price. So if you wanted to go out and get him right now, what is the floor price you're going to have to pay? And at the moment, he's just about in between those last two sales. So that's probably a fair price to pick up. Right, so you might be thinking that's very nice for you, but £162 is a lot more than I want to play with. So how can I find someone cheaper for my value? So you can go to Scout and Player Rankings. This is the page that I use, but it's not the only page. Any of these scouts will help you find cards, so Card Finder or Player Finder. But for me, I've always found Player Rankings the best one for me because it ranks players and you can see players, all of their average scores. This is Messi's last 5 of 86. Obviously, he had a fantastic World Cup and he's good. He's done a good restart when he's come back for PSG, but it's going to cost you £515 to buy him. So let's try and find someone a little cheaper. What I would do then is go to the Defender tab and look at all leagues. If you think of a league that's probably not going to be too popular, something like the Pro League or the K League, not got too many eyes on it, but you can get involved for a cheap amount. Just make sure they've got a game because, for example, the K League isn't on at the moment. So I'm going to filter by defenders in the Pro League, and what I'm going to do is look for people that have played a lot of their last 15 games. So let's say they've played 10, but rather than going by filtering by the highest value, so you can filter to the highest value, you can then filter to the lowest value and see, okay, there's a couple of players here for 55p. So which one of these has the best average across, let's say, the last 5? So Alec van der Bogen, you can then click onto his name and get a whole list of all these players. You can see he's sold for as much as £2.31. At the moment, he's selling for about £1.89, and someone even got an offer for £1.75 and saved themselves a couple of pennies. So if you check SO5 scores, you can see how he's scoring. So he's starting at left back. He plays for Mechelen and is looking like he's just broke into the first team. So he was a centre back, he walked back to sub, but now he's playing as a starting left back. So that doesn't mean he's going to be a starting left back forever, but he's someone you could try out and just see how he plays, see if you understand the scoring matrix, see if you find it fun. If you then go back to Sorare, you go to the play page and you go to upcoming, so where you can enter your team. Let's say, for example, you bought this player. You would want to put him into a league that's kind of for beginners, because obviously you will probably be a beginner at this stage, and it's like, okay, well, what do I do with him? The kickoff is the best way to start for a beginner. The description will tell you exactly what you need. So begin your limited journey with just one limited card. So this will be a combination of using common and limited cards. Unfortunately, it's locked for me because I have too many cards to register for this competition. If you have under 10 cards, you're not allowed to enter. Data. It makes it a soft entry for new beginners, so they're not coming up against monster cards like, I've got Mbappe, or I did have Mbappe, I've got Messi in my gallery, I've got Vinicius Jr. in my gallery. It wouldn't be fair. So I'd say the Kickoff Limited, if you are looking to put some money into the game and play, I'd say that's probably the best area for you. It is important to note you can't just go out and buy a massively expensive player and dominate everyone else, because they'll have to have a last 15 of 55 or below. So you can see that here. You can see all the different eligibilities and how to enter them. Of course, if you go to the matches, you'll see that every game's covered, and the prize pool will show you the prizes. A tier 1 limited for getting first in this is really generous, I'd think. So definitely try and play the Kickoff League if you can. Currently, it's only got 2,300 people competing as well, so you've definitely got a much better chance than playing in the casual league. So now you understand how to play the game, you might have a couple of cards. What are your next steps on Sorare? I would suggest what are called the ETH thresholds. I can't really speak too much about them because they're actually not released yet. This is starting being recorded on the 15th of January, and the new thresholds roll out on the 30th of January, which applies to every single scarcity. So that include limited, that include rares, super rares, and uniques. And what that means is that you can earn ETH, which can be sold immediately, which has a value every single week. So what you need to do in order to compete in this, you need to have 5 cards. These 5 cards, their last 15 averages needs to add to less than 240 points. And then you need to score 250 points. If you do that in limited, you can get $5 every single week your team does it. Every single game week your team does it. On top of that, if you outperform your thresholds, if you outperform the team by miles, there are still regular card prizes which you can win, sell, improve your team, whatever you want to do with them. It really is the most fantastic part about Sorare, I'd say. So be sure to check them out. But this will require you getting 5 cards right. And the goalkeeper is, because there is only one starting goalkeeper position per team, it's a much more expensive card. There will be in the region of about 40 to £200 in limited. So yeah, be wary of that. But I definitely would try and push your gallery towards this once you understand how the game works. One of the best parts about Sorare is that manager to manager sale. So once you've got a player and someone else wants him, they can come and pay ETH for them, or they can come and swap any one of their cards in their galleries. And I'll show you how to do this now. So if you wanted to go out and get Fabian de Kaiser, right? So I wouldn't recommend getting him because he's got a last 15 of 0, so he hasn't played. I know he's on the bench for, forgot what club it is here, for Utrecht. But what you can do is, if you don't want to buy him now, you can make an offer. So you can trade and you say, okay, you've got him an offer for £23. I'll offer you 22. I could then send that trade. He then thinks about it and he can reply with a counter offer or a straight rejection. What you can do, and you have to be very careful with this because everything's on the blockchain, it's all owned by you. If you send a card away which you didn't mean to, if that person's not a nice person, that card will be gone. They'll accept it and you'll get whatever you wanted here. So make sure the send is what you want to send and receives what you want to receive. But I could add a card here. I could add, for example, Orlean Tchouameni from Real Madrid. I absolutely wouldn't do this because Orlean Tchouameni is about 10 times the price of de Kaiser. But as soon as I click send the trade button, the trade will be sent and then it'll be up to that manager to accept or reject. So what I could do instead is then go and select another player which is a bit cheaper, maybe Diego Laxalt. He's playing in Russia at the moment and Russia don't have any games. He's about £2 of a player. So yeah, you could say I'll add £22 plus a player that's worth £2 for a player that's worth 25, pretty much what you want. Would you accept that? Would you not? It's essentially peer-to-peer, selling, trading. It's fantastic. The big issue is, and if you're new to the game, this could be you, so try and avoid this. No one wants your 6-7 cards which aren't playing for their one card which is playing, right? Don't go and send offers like that. Don't go and send offers if they're wanting £25. Don't go and send an offer for £10. Don't send, an offer which is miles away from the market price. It will get you blocked. It will get you a bad name on the game, and it's just not worth your time. To recap then, the cap 240 mode on Sorare is definitely, in my opinion, the best mode to play for absolutely everyone because you can guarantee ETH thresholds, which are basically small amounts of ETH paid to you every single game week for pretty reasonable scores. You just need to do it within a certain amount of cap, how many points you can spend in your team, essentially. The problem with it is that you need 5 cards in limited, and Sorare knew that, and they've just made an update. The update Sorare made is great for newcomers because you have the competition amateur where you can play with 5 common cards, the semi-pro where you only need 1 limited card to start playing, and then the competition pro 270. So this 270 is the cap. You get 270 points to spend of the last 15 averages of your card. So if a card's underperforming, it's probably good for him to get into the team because he's likely to outscore his points. What you can do in this is play against all the other competition on Sorare. You don't have the ETH threshold, so it's not as good. But what you do get is a chance to compete in real game modes, and you don't need to buy a goalkeeper because you only need 4 limited cards. And obviously, as the goalkeeper is the most expensive, you can save money on that. To conclude then, as a new joiner, you should be playing the draft modes, which are great. Play the amateur with your common cards. Once you win or once you buy 1 limited card, move up to semi-pro. Then, if you have enough money to buy 5 cards, that includes a goalkeeper, you're going to need to go and play the cap 240 mode, because then you can win ETH thresholds, which are ETH payouts every week. If you can't afford a goalkeeper, go for the cap 270 mode, because then you can play with 4 players and you can still win against all the other opposition and learn how to play the game properly. Now, despite how easy it may look on the graph, I can promise you it is very difficult to progress through all these different divisions. You're going to need to use your football knowledge. You're going to be good at the game. You're going to need a certain amount of luck to keep winning and progressing through. This could be a year, this could be 2 years, this could be a 3-year project just to progress from one scarcity to the other, because you've got to remember, when you move from one scarcity, say from rare to super rare, that's 10 times more scarce and sometimes can result in 10 times more expensive. Definitely that's the case in limited to rare. What I would say my first pro tip then is to be patient. A lot of players come in, their players hit a bad score, they sell them for a loss, and then they move on. If you've selected your players based on a good criteria, you've done your research, stick with the player, be patient and wait until that comes off. If there's a change in the scenario, maybe you thought he was going to be a good player because he got a new role in the team and you find out he's not actually doing any good in that role, yeah, feel free to sell him. But just because he has a run of bad games doesn't mean you should be selling your players and panicking. The next pro tip is the cap 240 mode. Historically, because it has ETH thresholds, have always been the go-to leagues, the guaranteed best leagues to play. And I don't see that changing. In the cap 240 mode, you can win scarcities above, you can win, multiple card prizes and the ETH thresholds. In every single scarcity, the cap 240 will probably be the division to play. How are you going to win this cap 240 then if it's going to be the best league, everyone's going to know about it, it's going to be super competitive? You're going to need to think about how you can beat your opposition by taking advantage of that cap mode. For example, if they're using the last 15 games, if your player has a last 15 as 0, that's going to give you a free card that will put you so much more ahead of other players. So try researching injured players, see who's coming back, see if they're going to be filtered into the team slowly or if they're just going to start. They're so important to the team, once they're fit, they have to start. Another example is look for underperformers. If they've underperformed for a long period of time and you think those tides have changed, maybe there's a new manager at the club, that's the perfect people that should be going in your cap 240 team. On top of that, you're going to want depth in your team. I know you want to go out and buy the most expensive players, you want your Messis, you want your Neymars. What it might be better to do is actually to have 20 to 30 cards so you can pick fixtures. So maybe you have a Bochum player and they're bottom of the league in Bundesliga, but they're coming up against someone else who's also bottom of the league and this is their big game, this is their derby, this is their 6-pointer. That could be a perfect time to use those cards. The transfer window is open now and that leaves 2 great avenues for the cap mode. Firstly, players that have taken a step down. Has anyone moved to the MLS from, the Premier League? What a great scenario that would be. There's so many scenarios like that because this game covers the global world of football. It doesn't even have to be a step down, Sometimes just a new club helps players so much. And then this works anytime throughout the period of Sorare, right? But it works so much better in the transfer window. It is just, trying to trade cards, trying to make a profit. If you see a player that you think's undervalued, you pick him up, you sell him at a higher price. You do that as many times as you can and start building up this gallery. Once you build up this gallery, you can put it into a star player that's going to consistently perform for you. But the issue that people run into on this game is that they have one star player mixed with a load of duds. Try and have your team be all of consistent levels, maybe with one standout player, but only, let's say, 1 tier above. So you don't want Messi coming in with all these rubbish players. You want a whole balanced club with depth. I've always found that's how it works for me. If you want more explanation on my strategy, check out my Sorare journey videos. I've been documenting my entire journey on Sorare since my first ever day playing, and I've learned together, we've shared the experiences, we've had wins, we've had losses, and I'm at a stage now where I've played for long enough, I think I know my stuff. So that's where I share really in-depth, trading tips and all the tips that I'm thinking at that exact point. So that would be good to check out after this video. To conclude then, the cap 240 mode is the best league you should be playing. Try and focus on that, put your best cards there, and then you can spread your players however else you want. When you start winning more, you can start, building up your gallery to have this depth. This depth will help you push into cap 270. When you're playing 240 and 270, you'll start winning rewards from the scarcity above. When you've got a scarcity above card, you can start entering the kickoff, and then that cycle starts. Then you start compounding cards. Then you get better at the game. Then you get more depth. That's how the pros do it. That's how you should be doing it. And that's my thoughts. Now, those are the positives with Sorare. I think it's important to note some of the risks. The big risk, which I really want to hammer home here, is this is a game. It is for entertainment. It is not an investment vehicle. There's no guarantees in this. You could absolutely lose everything. So be certain whatever you're putting onto this platform, you are ready to lose it. It can lose, it can lose value very quickly. It's a volatile market, and it can be through no fault of your own. It could be through a life-changing injury for a player where they no longer play football again and you've got a load of their cards. Or maybe the companies just run poorly, they lose all their money, they're no longer able to sustain the game and keep their website running. These are all things that could totally happen, so just be aware of the risks of this platform. It is not a money-making scheme, it is a game, should be used for entertainment. My final pro tip then, and this is a different one, is to surround yourself with people that like this game, get involved in Twitter, get involved in Discord, try and learn as much as you can together, because although it seems like a game, it is much wider than that. It is a big community feel as well. What I'd say about Sorare is that the community aspects of it are severely underrated. Surround yourself in, content so you can get better at the game. Surround yourself in, people that you trust, that you can share your opinions with, because although it starts very much as a game, it can grow into much more. I know from my personal experience, I just started playing the game. 2 years later, I went to my dream football match. I went to Celtic Rangers. Sorare got me tickets. I went with other managers on Sorare, and we had the best time ever. And there's so many more experiences like that coming up for me, and there's no reason it can't happen for you. On top of that, there's some great content creators in the space. I love absolutely every one of them. I think they're great, so you should go and follow all those guys. Please make sure to subscribe to me as well. On top of that, please leave a comment, because this video took so long and it will help it get out to more people, it will help build the game, and it will help me. So if you liked it, please like, please subscribe, and yeah, all the best to you. Cheers.